best in podcasts, the best in town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're no damn experts. That's all I have to say today.
You're here. You showed up.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that. Yeah.
I'm just a pretty face to this operation. I provide no quality.
Well, we have a return guest today, which and our resident outside insider.
Ooh, look at that.
I think that's, I don't know. Have we come up with, I like
think
that
so.
one.
I think it's either outside insider or outdoors insider.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah. Outdoor insider. I think that's what did
insider.
I say?
I like
You said outside.
Insider.
I like
outdoor insider.
There we go.
I think that's going to be
Thank you for your assistance.
It was well. We've been chatting about names because you'll listeners you'll get to get a lot more of Bryon. Bryon Gustafson is our guest.
There, we got there.
Yeah.
We got there. Took a
It was
minute.
a windy journey.
It was a windy journey, but we got there, and you're going to have the chance to hear a lot more from him and his expertise, and see his face and all the things. And you're going to be our outdoor insider.
Outdoor insider.
Outdoor
I
insider. I like that too.
We
Well,
had some other ones that
yeah.
I played with a little bit.
We had some like Backcountry Bryon, which is appropriate, but also not all encompassing of what you do. So
Right.
we don't want
think-
people to be scared with the backcountry part. So
That's
Yeah,
true.
where they
Yeah.
think it's just like surviving.
very extreme.
Feasting
and,
off
like,
of berries
starting
and trying to
fires.
stab a
Right.
salmon to eat at night.
yeah, which
That perfectly described.
yeah.
Perfectly
So we
described.
don't want
Yeah.
people to be scared of that because you'll be talking about more than just that for our listeners on
There is a perception of
channels.
people who are planning a trip to Montana that they're going to have to take 3 months off and they're going to have to gain some survival skills because they have no idea, based on the images that they're shown, that there are communities in here that sell groceries, that it's not just the yellow brick road from Colorado that they have to journey upon in a wagon to get to Montana.
Dysentery.
Yes.
Right?
All the
all that
things.
stuff.
Oregon
This
Trail.
is the picture people still have of
Yeah.
Montana, and we're like, nope, you could fly right in here,
right.
Right. Yep,
Yes.
Yep. You can fly.
You might not have cell service everywhere, but besides that, covered.
which is fine.
Yeah.
I spent
which
the
is
weekend in a
great.
place with no cell service. It was
Refreshing.
beautiful. And our
Refreshing.
friends had a Starlink system, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
said, "Oh, did you want to connect?" I'm like,
Nope.
"Hell no."
Yeah.
There's a reason
Such
I'm
a
here.
Great
Which the
chance.
Starlink is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a really neat thing. And if you have to make connection, because
Right.
my friend had to connect with her father in the evenings. He's going through some health issues.
Yeah.
So she wanted to
Helpful.
call.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But
Beautiful.
don't
Don't
offer
make me
me.
connect to it. Yeah.
Right.
There's
yeah.
a
Because
reason.
there's
That's
times where it's just like, that's got to be off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be off.
So it's ironic you were bringing up some of the survival skills because that's actually what Bryon is here to talk about today.
Well, that is just
That
unique.
being said, so today he is Backcountry Bryon, but that's not the name we're going with for all of his
Other
blogs,
stuff.
vlogs, contributions that you will be seeing from him in the months to come. But this one, so when I was talking with Bryon, I had coffee with him last week. He was telling me about this really cool sounding event. And I'm just going to put a little, I'll just hand it off to you. The little teaser for this is, have you ever, Rebecca, seen the show Naked and Afraid?
Let's go with yes. I mean, I
Okay.
know of the premise. I've never sat and watched an episode.
Oh,
I've seen
well,
the
you might
commercials,
you might
and
want
I'd be
to
like,
now.
I'm not sure why we want to be naked.
Well, you might
It
want.
doesn't make sense.
No.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But there is a naked and afraid component to what
Ooh.
Bryon is talking about today.
I
So
should
with
leave
that-
that as the hanger.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Not even,
Not
like,
even explain.
not even acknowledge like
Just
why
like
that's
the
connected.
more you
Yeah.
fail, the more naked you have to become.
Oh,
Oh,
that could be an
that
addition.
actually could be part of this.
Yeah.
We could just change it right now.
Yeah.
Or you start naked, and if
And-
you're successful,
if you
you get to add clothes.
Add clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's the definition of success is real. Like, what is success?
Hey, you're still
Eating?
living.
Yeah, you're still alive. You get to put clothes on.
End of day one.
Yeah.
Still alive. Here's some panties.
Reverse strip poker
Yeah.
Yeah.
with your life. Yeah. Yeah. Makes
That's
sense.
perfect. So you just put that in your pocket.
If you ever need to brainstorm, I'm here for you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
I should have emailed you.
Yeah.
We didn't have you as a consultant. It should have happened.
So Naked and Afraid with Backcountry Bryon.
Which is just all wrong information. Anyone listening, that's just all. It's all
So
wrong.
let's
about you
get the
tell us
right
what's actually
information.
Well, so we were talking about the Outdoor Insider, and we ended up talking about my other job, which is
One of your 5 other jobs.
Yeah, which I volunteer full time with the Montana Vet Program. I was on here talking about that, so we don't have to go too in depth, but we take veterans. Our normal trips are 4 days, 3 nights. We go down the Smith River, and then we also have in the fall we have like hike trips, 8 to 10 miles a day for 4 days. We sleep out there, bear fences and bear spray and guns,
Ready to go.
and all that stuff. We had this idea last year to do a fundraiser. We try to do fundraisers that aren't super elaborate, and I'm going to totally contradict that by saying what we're doing, but everybody's a volunteer that's part of this program, and so taking more and more time away from them to run a fundraiser. We used to do the Knuckle Buster, and that would take us months to put together, and then we'd have to be up at Showdown for a week around that event, and that's a long time to have people that have full-time jobs volunteer, taking PTO to go up there and do all that to set up all the stuff. So we've gone to things like we have a couple that puts together a CrossFit competition out of town, and we just have to show up on the day of, and we get to meet people. We hand out stuff, and it makes actually more than the Knuckle Buster was making. It did great. And so on those lines, we've developed this thing. We're calling it Backcountry Immersion. And I'm not gonna hold on to this until the end. The reason that Naked and Afraid is related is I'm friends with somebody that there's a current season airing like right now. It's her 7th time on there.
Okay. Because we've known there's been contestants in the Little Belt Mountains before.
Yeah, there actually was a whole thing about that. Yeah. I don't think
it wasn't
she
her?
was. Well, I don't know if it was Naked and Afraid. I think it was something
some
else.
other
But it
type
was
of survival show.
It was a survival show trying to film,
Yeah.
and I think they had some hiccups, and people found weird things.
Found them. They're just like hiking, like, oh.
Well, if you've been in the Little Belts, it's kind of, I'm not going to say that it's hard to get lost, but it's a little bit more traversed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You can kind of be on just about any point and see at least a dirt road.
Yeah.
There's very few paved roads, but you can find a dirt
find
road
your
or a
way to
cabin.
something.
Yeah.
But
So
back
she
to
was
your
on.
friend,
This is like her 7th time. I met her a few years ago. She'd already been on a few times. I had never watched the show. Same thing. I knew the premise.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't
You're like,
make
I'm
sense
good.
to me for why. So I tried to watch, but then I'm like, now I'm watching a friend.
Now you
it's all
know
blurred
her,
out,
yeah.
and it's like,
right, but still.
I made it like 10 minutes in, and I was like, I can't.
this is weird.
I can't. And so I tell her now, I'm like, I don't watch your show.
Yeah.
And she's fine with that.
Yeah.
But she really loves helping veterans. She's not a veteran herself. I've seen things on her social media. She has a rather large following, and her name's Laura Zerra. I probably should say that. Laura
We can
Zerra.
keep it secret.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like nobody should stalk her.
But I'd seen that she'd done quite a few veteran fundraiser things, rock hikes and different things like that. And I was like, hey, I got this crazy idea that we could sell some tickets to people where that ticket sales is actually a donation, right, to us. And then we just teach them how to survive, and you're good at it. And other people, not necessarily me, but other people that are part of the Montana Vet Program, they were part of the mountain survival school that the Marines put on in Northern California. So 3 of them, that's how they met each other, was up there doing snow mountain survival and training people.
Okay.
And then we've also got an active SERE trainer. So like all of the pictures and videos I get, I have to like black out his eyes. You know, I don't know if I have to. I'm gonna, because it'll just be
Well,
cool.
why not?
It makes it cooler.
It's just like bleeping things in the middle of that don't need to be bleeped, and then they're like, "What are they doing?" You know?
Yes, exactly.
Bring some complexity to the conversation.
Yes, exactly.
Intrigue.
So we're gonna for a day and a half, for people that bought tickets, for a day and a half, we're gonna stay in an Airbnb in Monarch. But all the participants, like, we're just getting the Airbnb so we have a nice controlled area.
Yeah.
And so the participants will be sleeping in tents out in the yard, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
It's Monarch, so
Yeah.
It's not really a yard.
Yeah.
It's the mountains.
yard.
The wilderness. Yeah.
And the SERE trainer is going to come in and do a whole bunch of stuff on like how to build shelters with Laura Zerra. While we're doing all that, like the main thing about survival is not
First to panic.
well, yes.
First.
There is a whole mentality class. We have a couple different sessions of mentality, because that's huge actually in survival. And so you're exactly right. But it's also not like duplicating efforts. And so if you're out fishing, you might as well be looking for food to forage and firewood and shelter. And, you know, you just kind of do everything at once. And so it's not like we're going to have this class and this class. It's not separated. It's all kind of together for about a day and a half. And then we wake up on what'll be the second day, third day, start of the third day. And then we're going to drive out into the Little Belts, the Tenderfoot area.
Okay.
It's probably the remotest
part
of the Little Belts. And we'll hike back after we get dropped out of the vehicles, and then we will have nothing. No sleeping bags, no tents, no food.
Oh my.
And we'll do...
So people are going to buy a ticket to do this.
People already have bought a ticket
Yeah.
to do this.
This is impressive.
Yeah. And
But
it'll
you
be...
don't have to be naked, right? That's not part of it.
It's not even clothing optional.
Okay.
You will
You
have
are required
clothes.
to wear clothes.
Yeah, you will have
If people
clothes.
want to
Yeah.
be naked, you'll just be like, all right, you're going to make it harder on yourself.
Yeah, and also like this probably isn't the fundraiser for you. There's many other fundraisers that might have naked people in it, but yeah. And so we'll do 48 hours where we're not going to force anybody into anything, but all of the cadre, the teachers, we will be sleeping under shelters that we make, no sleeping bags, you know, catching our own food, all of that stuff for 48 hours. In that time, search and rescue is going to fly in, and then they're going to teach us like what they're looking for when someone's lost in the woods or anything like that. And then we'll also have, there's a volunteer from the Montana Pilots Association that's going to fly over in a little mini, I don't know the names of these planes.
Cessna, maybe, perhaps.
Mini plane.
Mini.
Yeah, yes,
Yes.
a mini plane. That's what I say. It's Cessna.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Okay.
a name that I've heard before.
It is. It's
Yep.
a real
Piper
name.
Cub.
Yeah, that's all.
Look at you.
That's also
Yep.
a real
Yes.
name.
That's a real name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they're going to fly over so we can actually practice signaling with like signal mirrors.
Oh, okay.
And then like another really good thing, just for tips for anybody that's listening, bring a blue tarp with you. That's one of the best things, is just to lay out a blue tarp.
Why blue? I mean, obviously not green, but like, why blue?
Yeah.
I think it's easier to be seen.
But as opposed to like a hot pink?
Well, they just
Yeah.
don't make a lot of hot pink tarps.
They
should.
don't. And
Right.
it's better than silver. I'm going to tell you, on the Facebook the other day, I saw a picture that showed different colored bathing suits inside water.
Yep.
And how visible they were. And I was like, huh.
Yeah.
That's helpful if you plan on
Yeah. Which
needing
one
a
was
water
the?
rescue. Yellow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Get a yellow
Yeah.
swimsuit.
In a well-cleaned pool.
And
Yeah.
also like,
Both, and they showed
I
it
would
like
think a
in a
life vest though too
in
would
a-
be helpful in that color.
orange is fine.
Yeah.
Life vests cause you to float, so that's the good part.
Right. But just,
all the other
yeah.
colors are pretty muted.
Mm-hmm.
In whether it be like a river, lake, or in a pool.
Yeah.
And you deal with some of that stuff when you're fishing too.
Yeah.
Is when, like, let's say Holter Lake is pretty close. Sometimes you're fishing for salmon or trout that are quite a bit below
Oh.
the water. Well, after about 10 feet, you lose certain wavelengths of light. And so there's only, like, pink is one that actually sticks around for a little
Yeah.
while. So you can use pink really deep.
Yeah.
I think blue might be another one. I have to do a little bit more research to know exactly. But there's certain colors that just after 10 feet, you can't even see what color that is.
Yeah.
I can tell you, Bobcat Blue Rapala does really well on Petrolia to catch walleye, which my husband said that's the dumbest thing you could ever spend your money on. I can't believe you're doing that. And then I put my Bobcat Blue Rapala on, and I caught more fish than he did. And he goes, I will shut up about your lure choice. I'm like, thank you. I think that's a good decision.
And we're just going to follow this bunny trail for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
Because years ago, I entered a competition with it's called Live Target Lures.
Okay.
They make ultra realistic lures. Okay. Look just like fish. They even have the little vent hole.
Ooh.
You can call it something else, but
Yep.
that's
We're
what
gonna call it a vent
hole. And I actually got second place in the nation
Bryon,
for this
wow.
competition.
Wow.
And it's because I was fishing from shore and everybody else that competed was fishing from a boat. And they're like, we really want this shore. And so I don't know what happened. I was actually supposed to like come on board with them and start being like this is a ways back. So influencers wasn't really a thing, but now we would call it an influencer for them. But in some of those discussions, he said, our lures are more designed to catch fishermen than fish.
Oh, yeah.
And now when you look around at a lot of these lures and look at them, they're designed to catch our eyes.
Yep. Not the fish.
Not the fish. And so a lot of
tricky
times
sales
I choose lures based off of their action and like how deep they'll go
Right.
or, things like that rather than, now I'm not saying color plays no part or paint job plays no part, but it plays such a small part. You gotta think the size of these brains.
Yeah,
right?
you're
Like,
right.
It's not like they're complex and they're looking at that going,
Oh, that's the prettiest.
huh, that doesn't look real.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I wonder if that's attached to a hook. Like,
Right.
no one's
No.
looking through this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, well, that one doesn't have the vent hole.
Right.
in it.
Right.
I didn't
So
notice.
I'm
That
not,
wiggled a little bit more to the right than it should.
Yeah.
Like, mostly it's just
Yep.
making it available.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I just thought, well, it's going to catch an eye. That's all I'm looking for.
Exactly.
They're not
Exactly.
going to try. I want them to try and mate. That's what I'm looking for. And so I was successful in my endeavor.
Good job.
Yep.
Mm.
I'm a fish whisperer, if you really want to know.
Wow.
Yeah, something to catch somebody's
So
eye.
she might give you a run for your money, Bryon.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And you were up at Holter?
No, we were at Petrolia, which is out towards Winnett. I have used it at Tiber, have had success at Tiber. Holter is my nemesis. Holter and Francis, screw them Blakes both. I have... When I fish at Holter, the perch eat me dry all the time. I'm never quick enough to get the perch, and so I call the perch bad names. I'm like, I don't like being here.
You vent hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when I'm at Francis, I've never caught a fish out of Francis.
Really?
Yeah. My husband goes, let's go to Francis. Let's go. No, I'd rather get my eyes poked out with straws.
Opposite. I will pick Francis 9 out of 10 times over Tiber.
Wow.
And Tiber has bigger fish in it. Without a doubt, Tiber
I
has
am more
bigger fish in
successful at Tiber than I am Francis.
it. I can't find fish at Tiber.
Oh,
Save my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't keep them out of the boat when I go.
And I used to be a part of this ice fishing forum, ice shanty. It's still around, but forums aren't really a thing much anymore.
Not much.
But people would report like, hey, there's ice on this, so you didn't have to drive
Just to find out.
an hour and a half
Yeah.
in Montana to find out. It was the greatest thing that, there's 8 inches of ice.
Yeah.
We can go. But then people would also report like fishing, right? Oh, we're catching them 2 feet off the bottom using this or, whatever. Tiber, no one ever reported on fishing because what happens at Tiber stays at Tiber. Like nobody shares any kind of, you'll ask somebody about Francis, right? And they'll be like, oh, over here, go north. They'll send you waypoints to like 28 feet deep with this lure. They'll send you exact stuff. Tiber, people are like, is that a lake around here?
Yeah.
Really? It's like you have a sticker that says Tiber. It looks like
I know you've been there.
you just said you came from there. No, never heard of that.
funny.
Which Tiber is named after the dam. The lake is actually Lake Elwell.
Elwell. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, Lake Elwell.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy
Well, if you
things.
two needed to be on a team to like cover the state, at least you have different strong suits.
Yeah,
different strong
exactly.
places.
Yeah.
Different styles catch
Uh-huh.
different fish.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, so you need a blue tarp in the wilderness.
Okay, so turn the car around, you turn back to where we were at. Yeah, and so Montana Pilots Association will fly over.
Which
and
is really
then-
cool that you've gotten all that search and rescue with pilots to come and do all of this.
Which is contradictory to me saying a lot of work. So we have been working on it for a long
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but it's not as hard as going out and walking miles in elevation and all of that at
Setting
showdown,
up
setting
courses.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just a few phone calls here and there, and there's some permits to get and things like that. But insurance, but
All the fun stuff.
all of that's been mainly phone calls. And so we're selling tickets. I don't like that terminology because it's donations, right? Like you're donating. The tickets are $3,000. You're donating $3,000. With that donation, you get a ticket to come with us out in the backcountry, and it's really cool.
And this is for everybody, not just veterans, correct?
Right, yeah. Every other event we do, so like I'm leaving Thursday to go down the Smith River with veterans. That's all, we call them VTATs, Veteran-Led Therapeutic Adventure Trips. And so veterans lead it, and it's veterans that are on there. But this is the one thing we do a year where it's not just veterans. Well, and then I guess our other fundraiser, if you want to come do a CrossFit comp, you don't have to be a veteran to do that either.
Yeah.
But
Rebecca signed up. She's ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have that same answer, by the way.
As soon as Shannon competes in the rock climbing competition down on Highline, I'll do CrossFit.
Okay. You didn't say I had to be good. I just have to be willing. That's fine.
Yeah. All right.
Done.
This sounds like
Neither
a plan.
one of us are going to be good.
Done. That is exciting, though. And I think there are people who want to have that backcountry, like, can I survive on my own thing?
It's also education paired with the challenge afterwards, which I think is the important part.
Right. You're actually learning how to do it properly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And so like one of the guys that's coming with us is an outdoor photographer, and it's what he does full time. What I've learned, actually, I've met a few outdoor photographers. Most of them live in their vehicle. And they just travel all around kind of the country, and they're like, some outdoor company will be like, hey, I need you in Tennessee to shoot for 3 days on a turkey hunt or whatever. And they're just like, okay.
I'll see
they
you
just
soon.
hop up and
Sounds
go.
fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he spends a lot of time in the outdoors taking pictures. You would think like this wouldn't appeal to him because he kind of already knows. But he's super excited because a lot of the skills we're teaching aren't ones that you practice when you're out there. You have a tent, you have a sleeping bag, you bring food, you bring, all the stuff that you need. And so he's like, I really want this practical application in case something ever goes wrong.
Yeah.
I know I've done the thing I need to do, which signal a plane or, build a shelter or trap a beaver, whatever you need to do, and so it's pretty cool.
Like I'm tempted to sign up. I'm probably not going to, but I'm tempted to sign up because those are things where I'm like, I want to be able to know that I at least have basic skills to figure out how to start taking care of myself if I was ever in some situation where I found myself alone in the wilderness.
Is there going to be like backcountry first aid as part of this?
Yep. That's
like
also
how
another thing.
You first aid yourself?
Yep. And so we have, each participant will have a little mini first aid kit on them. Laura teaches about wilderness first aid based off of like foraging. And so we did a test run last year in July. And we had the Montana Pilots Association actually flew us into the Little Belts. We landed and then walked a little bit, get away from civilization or whatever. And we got back in there. And one of the guys that was on the trip helping us, he cut his thumb. And she got so excited. She jumps up and she's like, yarrow! And that's the name of a plant.
Yep.
It's the best plant, I really feel. But you can just chew it up and stick it on your cut, and it helps clot. But it also will help with bug bites. It'll also help with, like, you can make it into like an ointment and like all sorts of stuff. And so, but she just got so excited when he cut himself, and he's like, I'm bleeding over here.
Yeah,
She's
like,
cheering.
why are you excited?
And so she ran off, started chewing it, and put the stuff out of her mouth onto his thumb, and he was fine with it. And then there's a type of moss that grows. It's old man's beard. It's kind of this white, long. Most of us have been outside have seen it. That she used as bandage, and that also helps with swelling and speeding up the healing process. Cool. And so there'll be that, but then also we have a former Green Beret that is currently a physician's assistant. And so he's going to be teaching, how to make a splint, how to stop bleeds, the really important stuff. You don't really need to know how to cure a headache, but that is something we will go over. But like, like serious, like if you're bleeding, how do we stop this?
Yeah.
How do you apply a tourniquet? Those things, and we'll have those as well. Yeah.
Yeah. My husband just finished watching Band of Brothers again, all 6 episodes. We've watched, I think, 4 of the episodes 800 times, but we've
Yeah.
never seen like the first 2 or 3. And so as
So
we
you just started the 3rd episode?
yeah, well, you only catch it. Like it's not like we don't have the subscription where you just like, okay, we're
I
gonna
see.
start from
Okay.
one.
Gotcha,
but
gotcha,
like
okay.
I thought you
it's
were
on
like
some
choosing
special
to skip
avoiding
the
it.
first 2.
Here's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
here's the episodes of Band of
Gotcha.
Brothers, and it's like the last 3. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
well,
are we not watching any other ones? And
Nope.
so we've watched those a lot because of when we catch them
sure.
being aired. So he's like, I want to watch the whole thing. And I'm like, I would appreciate that because I don't even know how we get here. And I don't know these people as well as I think I should. And so we did that anyway. Through the whole thing, you see these combat medics in World War II, and you're like, they're really doing not much.
Nope.
And,
It's just morphine
like
and
morphine, sprinkle some stuff on.
They occasionally had to like saw limbs off.
Yeah, every now and again, and then just drag them out. Like basically, you're just the dragger. And I'm like, good lord, the battle worn that came out of World War II. I'm like, those poor kids probably got no training, training at all.
It's like, you're a medic.
Here's
Go.
some stuff in your backpack. Figure out how to use it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm glad we're gonna have classes.
Right.
Yeah, we'll definitely have classes on that because that a lot of times that will mess up your mentality too.
Yeah.
You know, if you're injured and you can't do anything to help mitigate it at all,
Right.
you're going down quick and your brain's just going to go right there with you.
Yeah.
The psychology of all of it, and so having the confidence to
Choose some yarrow and stick it on
Yeah.
yourself.
exactly
Wrap it with some moss.
Well, and then the other thing we realized too, kind of along those lines, I'm thinking of this because Laura tells a story of a dog that got really badly cut, and she's just started shoving yarrow in there, chewing it up, shoving it in there.
I'm so glad that's the direction. I thought like a dog got sick and we were going a different direction with the dog. I'm so glad. Okay.
But
I don't want to hear that.
she was telling this story around the campfire, and when she got to the vet, when they got the dog to the vet was like, I don't know what you shoved in this cut because normally it's keep a cut clean.
Yeah.
I've never seen this bad of a cut this quickly after it happened be this healed, right? Like not bleeding as much as it should and everything. So he's like, whatever you did, always do that.
Wow.
And that story came around the campfire, and this is a side effect we realized when we did this test run last year is now you're sitting around the campfire with like a SERE instructor, someone that's been on Naked and Afraid, and like she kind of lived homeless for a few years just on purpose, right?
Yeah,
just like
practicing.
Yep.
Yeah.
She now lives in a cave, a mine shaft on the border of Montana, Idaho. And then everybody else that's on the trip, you know, Green Beret, Marine Mountain Survivalist, you know, I've been to combat twice. And so the stories that come around the campfire, that was just a side effect because you just have some time, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not sitting around eating.
It's good
Right?
conversation.
Yeah, and so it's just a ton of conversation. It was a side effect we realized with the Montana Vet Program too, is we never really considered how much laughter happens. But you get all of these veterans that haven't been around that community in a while. Some of them 20 years since they've been around, you know, other veterans. And it doesn't take long getting down the river. Sometimes it happens gear night the night before, but just the laughs that happen. And then it was a side effect of this too. You get around the campfire and you start hearing some of these stories and just the laughter and how healing that is and how much easier it makes not having any food or a sleeping bag
Right.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, Laura living in a cave, how do you contact her?
Right.
Do you send her
Carrier
That's actually-
pigeon.
So that's one of my
messenger?
biggest lessons learned this year is we're like, hey, you know, just share this on your story, you know, and she doesn't really care that much about social media,
Yeah.
right?
you know, is gone a lot. She does have a Starlink.
Okay.
That's if she's at her house and if she's connected, right?
Yeah.
And so it's mainly like I'll send a text on Monday. If I don't hear back by Wednesday, I just literally send a text that says bump, and that's to bump me back up to the top of the list. And then by Friday, I send something funny. So like it's usually a random emoji, oftentimes the middle finger, right? Haven't heard from you for a week. Like, are you alive? Flip her off. Then she'll respond.
Okay.
When she goes in to get supplies or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But like we were sitting around the fire last year and she got so excited. I'd asked the question. I said, you know, how many days a year do you think you spend in like I don't want to say civilization, but like a house with real walls and electricity and plumbing. And she was like, oh, probably like 21 days a year.
Oh my gosh.
With like a real,
like modern amenities.
Like the room we're in, right?
Yeah.
Like just that. She's about 21 days a year. And I was just like, that is just
it's
so
a different
crazy.
lifestyle. Although, you know, when growing up, my dad wanted to be Jeremiah Johnson and live in the woods and have a shack with dirt floor, which is not that far from a cave.
Right.
No.
Right.
He wanted his only interaction to be with a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Like that was all he wanted.
My husband often wants to go and just make that his life.
Disappear.
Yeah.
And so isn't that weird? Like, not everybody feels that way, but how a lot of people, that's kind of their default when they get upset in society. It's like, I just need to
be
just
away.
like you said,
be away.
I'm not connecting to your Starlink.
Yeah.
I need to be disconnected.
Yeah.
It's such a healing thing though, to get out and be away from everything. They've done studies just on like the color green and how, you know, when you're out, not in the winter around here, but you get some pine trees, but you know, when you're out, just the color green and how it affects our brain.
Healing.
The sound of water also plays a
That's huge for
part.
me. I know.
Yep.
Water.
Yep. And then for me, anytime my you know, raft or boat or kayak or whatever pulls away from the shore, you can feel it, right?
Yeah.
And you just feel the floating.
It's like an immediate.
And I think the funnest thing for me is having it just happen this weekend. We're in the mountains, we're on the trail, we run into people we know, and then we just sit on the trail and visit for 2.5 hours. We haven't seen them in forever, and it's like nobody cares. Like we were each going somewhere else when we happened upon each other. Like, no, we're going to sit here and visit for a little bit.
And nobody's doing this.
Nope.
Right.
I'm looking at my phone right now.
Just sharing stories
there's no block. It's
how
like
things going,
real.
and you're learning to get caught up that they've got grandkids now, and like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
and your daughter just graduated. Yeah, she's out of the house, and we've got this going, and so it's just, and we're there for 2.5 hours, and it seems like when you're in the mountains, being dropped in on or meeting somebody on the trail and just having a 2-hour conversation, not an issue at all. Doesn't bother you in the least.
Somebody stops you for 10 minutes in a coffee shop, though.
You're like, God,
you're like, come on. When
Yeah.
will
I
you
have
ever
places
stop
to be.
talking about yourself?
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, when you should catch up with that person.
Right.
You should talk and be civil. But yeah, in the mountains, it's just totally different.
Yeah.
Completely fine.
And isn't it weird, too, in Montana? Two or 3 years ago, I was doing a scouting trip for the vet program. And so it's just 2 of us that will go do the route that we'll hike just to see how feasible it is. And we try to do, this would be a normal like 4-day trip. We try to do it in like 2 or 3, right? So we're kind of hiking a lot. We went to the Crazy Mountains. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous.
Steep and rugged.
Oh, yes.
But gorgeous.
But gorgeous. And the first day, me and his name's Scott, we start up the trail. I don't know, 2 miles up the trail, I see someone from Bozeman. I'm like, hey guys, and we chatted for a little bit, and then we camped that night, and then the next day we're kind of crossing over a ridge. So we're at like 10,000 feet. We're crossing 9,000 probably, crossing over this ridge, and we see 2 people because you can see. So once you get above the tree line, you can just see people coming from forever. And Scott had made the joke. He's like, you probably know him. And I did.
Oh my.
They were from Glasgow.
Oh,
so
wow.
I currently was living in Great Falls, and I had just met people on the trail from Bozeman and Glasgow in the crazies.
Yeah.
Right?
Opposite ends of the state.
Yeah. And it was just so crazy. And we sat and talked for a little bit, and they were on their way out. We were on our way in. And it was just, it's just cool how that happens sometimes. It's kind of like the airport thing.
Right. You run into people
Where
in the
you
airport.
run into people in the airport, and you're like, why are you traveling?
Right. Like, what
Why
are
am
you
I
doing
seeing you in
here?
Salt Lake right now? Like, that's so weird.
It is. And
You
that's
live
just a
3
whole
houses
other
down.
world, too. An airport's just you're in a whole other world in an airport, too.
And to be fair, everybody spots me before I spot them because I'm not looking. I'm not one of the people watch. Unless my wife's like, hey, let's people watch.
Right.
I don't.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
just like,
constantly people watching.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just all to myself.
I am like, I gotta get here. I gotta get there. I'm not.
I'm always looking at airports. I'm like, do I know anyone?
No,
But for me,
no, never for me.
chances of me finding anybody I know in an airport is 0%. And I travel, and I get to the gate that you're flying into Great Falls from.
Yeah.
And you look around and you're like, I should know at least somebody here.
Yep. And oftentimes not. And
Yeah.
I always think I'm going to. Mm-hmm.
In 25 years, I've never known anyone at the gate. So I'm like,
funny.
I'm not even going to pay attention.
Yeah.
I don't even care who's here. I'm one of 800,000 people, it feels like, in the airport.
Right.
We're done.
I do when I go to Denver. If I have a layover in Denver, I have a couple good friends in Denver, and I'll be like, you don't happen to be going through the airport today, flying somewhere, do you? And there's sometimes when it's been close because I'm like, you want to come hang out at the airport? Like, do you happen to be on a layover too?
If I'm remembering right, Denver, though, their airport's not in Denver, right?
No, there's a lot of weird things about that airport.
It's like in the middle of nowhere.
It's in the middle of nowhere. Also a terrible, according to my meteorologist husband, the worst spot you could put it weather-wise in terms of where like tornadic action could happen and severe storms could happen. They've got like a demonic horse and is it the Masons? There's like all kinds of like Illuminati symbols. I'm probably going to get on some hit list now. Illuminati symbols like all over the
Thanks for doing
airport.
that to our podcast.
Yeah.
But they're doing construction right now, and their advertising plays into that.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah. I just
it's
watched
like a real thing.
like a reel or a TikTok or something about it that like they're riding
like
in on
Illuminati
that like
symbols
Illuminati
all over
thing.
the
And so,
airport.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like,
And
are
I
we
think there's,
building
like, a
new
secret-
stores or are we making an office for the Illuminati? Like that's their advertising.
Smart. Yeah.
Makes sense.
There's a whole like hidden dungeon of the airport too, to my understanding. Anyway.
I think that's with every airport, though.
Oh, probably.
Not in Great Falls.
There's some behind the walls things.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to see what happens from like before baggage claim.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to see that.
In between when you drop it off and when it goes on the plane.
That gate 3, is it? On the south end of the airport. It's got stairs to the downstairs. I don't know what goes on down there.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to go there.
You could try.
Yeah.
I
See
might.
what happens.
try.
Maybe an alarm will go off. I don't know.
I mean, it's the safest place to do something. Someone
It's
will
true.
be there quickly to usher you somewhere.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you aren't supposed to be there. Yeah.
Correct.
So who would be a good person, a candidate to go on this trip? What are like good prerequisites or like I should ask myself if I'm really ready to go on this backcountry adventure? Like who are the ideal people to sign up for this?
Honestly, like we're prepared to take any skill level with us.
Okay.
And so I would say a prerequisite
Yep. Got it.
is kind of the statement that you made.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to
self-evaluation.
Yeah, you kind of did. You're like, I kind of want to. I'm not gonna, but I kind of want to. That is probably the person that should come,
Mm-hmm.
because you're already kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are people that they're like, never. Well, yeah.
Don't.
You're already in the wrong
you're already
kind of
that
mindset
for
you
it.
know?
Yeah.
And so if you're gung ho, of course, but if you're in that area kind of questioning it, and then I would say now, just because we're getting so close, we still have a couple tickets left, but it's July 9th through the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Is it limited tickets? Like
Yep.
you're only selling so many?
We're only selling 10.
And you're planning to do another.
It'll be an
This is the-
annual,
yeah.
it'll be an annual
Ooh,
thing. And so
so
this has been our
prepare.
hardest year because it's our first year.
Mm-hmm.
And like lessons learned with Laura that I just need to give her a whole social media pack at the beginning of the year with dates and like, can you post this stuff? You know, that would have helped advertise a little bit more. And then like some of our partners didn't come on until like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you'll get Mystery Ranch. They're a pack maker out of Bozeman.
Mm-hmm.
Them and Yeti are the same company now. Yeti bought out Mystery Ranch, but it's a great pack company. They gave us it's called a Blitz bag, one for each participant.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's like a $350, $400 bag. It's got all the mole attachments. You know, you can, it's a cool looking bag.
Yeah.
All right. If you're one of those guys or gals. And then Montana Knife Company is giving us, they gave us 10 knives for each of the participants. And then they put our logo and their logo on it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And it's their survival knife. So it's a big old knife.
Do participants get this before they go in, or is this once they complete it?
So we're not doing like, here's a certificate saying you can survive.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want anybody thinking that just because they went through a class with us that now they're like, or they can go train other people.
Yeah.
So the knife is the only thing you have to wait till the end.
Okay.
And that's like, hey, you did 4 days with us.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Here's a knife.
Yeah.
So that's part of the packing list is
Okay.
BYOK. bring your own knife. Yeah, bring your own knife.
Yeah.
I have some you can borrow if you need one.
Oh.
And then there's another company out of Bozeman called FHF. Fish Hunt Fight is what it stands for.
Oh.
He makes it's all American made, and he does all the sewing himself.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's like it's underneath the Meat Eater brand.
Okay.
And so like Meat Eater owns them. He's owned this company for about 10, 12 years. Started it up in his garage.
Yeah.
He was working with the sheriff's department, and people would be like, hey, I need a pouch that does this and holds these weird things. Because I also, in Montana, you're not just like drug guy. You're also SWAT, and you have a dog sometimes. They kind of wear a few hats. And so he made all these weird pouches that he was sewing himself in his garage that turned into a huge nationwide, now worldwide business. So he's giving, they call them synergy bags. But other companies may call them like a possibles bag. It's just like, sometimes you have a whole bunch of little things, a toothbrush, toothpaste, maybe a couple Advil, tape,
Yeah.
And so
Paperclip.
You get some bags from them and a t-shirt from them.
Cool.
Gastronome, also out of Bozeman. Weird.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where the outdoor community has all their headquarters. But it's nice to have like all these Montana made stuff too.
Absolutely.
They're gourmet freeze-dried food.
Oh.
And so you'll get some of those. And then a breakfast food company, Angry Pica, they're donating some breakfast meals.
Cool.
And then Great Falls Shields, they're donating kind of everything else you need to survive. So signal mirrors, compasses, a sun shirt, fire starter, all these things. And so you'll get all of that.
That's a lot of good swag right there.
It's a little over $1,000.
That's crazy.
Retail value for all of it, a little over $1,000 of gear. But the cool thing is now like next year, we'll know that when people are going to sign up. But now I've been like emailing the participants here's another thing you get,
That's cool.
We'll know now going into it what everybody will get.
That's super cool.
So what about the people who are now sitting at home going, man, $3,000 for this swag package seems like a great idea. And what if I don't want to participate? All I'm forfeiting's the knife.
You just want
and you just want to come, get the swag bag, and take off. We would love the donation. We would love the donation, and by all means, if that's what you want to do, we'll be okay with that. That's because every little fish that we catch, every little trout we catch, that's got to split
10 ways.
Well, plus all the about 16 ways, right? 15 ways. So we kind of have to catch 15 fish any meal we want. And so, if you just want to come, grab the swag bag, donate the rest of it, cool. And then we'll find somebody else that would love that knife. And we'll figure out a way, we'll, auction it off or something.
There you go.
That'd be great.
Be great.
Yeah.
That same person can then go, I'll bid on the knife.
right?
That would just be a great partner, too. They're just helping veterans get out in the outdoors. That's great.
And let's be clear, you can just donate. You don't have to donate and pretend you're going to do this and
then not.
And then not. You can just donate money to the program so that they have cash to do great things with veterans.
You could buy all this stuff for a little over $1,000.
Yeah.
Donate that same amount, and you're saving money.
Yeah.
And you don't have to come survive with us for 4 days. So.
A lot of good options
win-win.
here.
Yeah. Is there an age limit? Or
we want 18 plus.
18 plus. Yeah.
I had one person say, hey, I want to bring my son. We're just insurance-wise, liability-wise, we just kind of like everybody 18.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a father-son come
cool.
do this. I think it'd be really cool. We're just not prepared for that on our first year.
Yeah.
And so maybe eventually it'll open up to something like that, mother-daughter, father-son.
Yeah.
How about animals? Like if I've got a dog that never leaves my side.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Yep.
Leave the dog at home.
Yep. Yeah. Unless, because if we don't catching fish, that dog's going to start to look kind of tasty.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of surviving.
Oh, my.
We all know it is. I was on a road trip one time with 2 other women, and I met with one of the other women, and I said, this one's not smart. I said, if we end up in a ditch and have to eat someone, will you agree that she goes first? And the other person was like,
you're talking about a human, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Just confirming because we were talking about dogs before. So
yep. No. Like it was going to be a road trip.
I'm so glad you
people.
confirmed that. Yeah. I was tracking right with you.
And
well,
so
I just
years
confirming.
later, years later, I told her, I said, when we went to that concert in Great Falls, we were living in Lewistown at the time. Me and my other friend had already made the pact that we were going to eat you if we ended up in a ditch and needed to survive. And she's like, I wasn't a part of the conversation. I'm like, no, you never are going to be. Like, it's not going to be three of us sitting around going.
It's got me concerned now because I've been on some road trips and I haven't
you
had
haven't
this
been part of
conversation
it,
a
so
lot.
that means
it's probably me.
you.
Nope. It was not a good time to be traveling. And I just went to the other person that was going to be party. And I said, do you agree to eat this person if we have to? And she said, yes, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's just a little dirty. It's a little dirty.
Yeah, these are the conversations you have to have.
Conversation like that.
But that road from here to Lewistown in the wrong time of year.
Yeah, it cannot be.
It could be bad, especially if the person driving is from a warm climate area and isn't very smart about road conditions because they have 4-wheel drive, and by pushing that just encapsulates you in a bubble and floats you to your destination.
It does
somehow.
not. But yes, I've been in that vehicle before.
So you're saying if you went into the ditch on the main road between here and Lewistown, you would just immediately resort to eating someone when town is like 2 hours or less away?
Not immediately.
Well,
I said if the conditions.
sorry, this happened at noon. That's lunchtime, though.
I mean, we can hitchhike. There's a car right there, but
If the situation became dire, you need to have a plan.
that's why always carry snacks and water in your car.
No, Fritos are fire. That's what's
You
in
can
there.
carry more than Fritos.
You can carry more than Fritos. It's totally
I'm an
allowed.
efficient packer.
Beef
So-
jerky is compact.
And
Shannon, I'm just saying you're going to need to be prepared.
I
And
am not
sometimes
riding with you in a car anywhere.
Snacks aren't. Maybe you just want to make sure you always bring snacks.
Yeah, they might be stale, but I have some in the back of my car for this very reason.
I did some spring cleaning and was cleaning out my vehicle. And I did this whole story on my Instagram of like, at the time I had owned a Jeep. And so I said, I took a picture of one of the ducks, the ducks that go around for Jeeps. How many ducks do you think I have? And then everybody'd guess. And I'd say, nope, it was 13 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a picture of a little snack and I said, how many calories do you think I have in my Jeep?
Oh.
And it was 12,000.
Hey, nice.
So you could,
I had no idea though.
Yeah.
Right? Like one was underneath the driver's seat.
Yeah.
There was like where I knew my food was at. And there was, there was enough there for a day or two. It was just all over the place.
See?
I'm just like a
Yeah.
little pack rat.
That's great.
Yeah. I could survive a month.
Yeah,
I'm
you wouldn't have to resort to eating anyone.
I'm guessing I might have maybe 300, and that's like from a dropped peanut in between the seeds or a random chicken nugget underneath.
Oh.
Some Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is my meal that I've scavenged from the depths of my vehicle. It's not going to get me very far. I'm going
No.
to need to eat a human. That's just where I'm at.
Well, that's not part of your experience, right?
No,
no.
no.
It doesn't come to that.
We purposely make it to where we already know. We've already pre-scouted the area. We know we're going to be able to at least catch a fish.
Okay.
And there's some key things that you can forage. One of them that I learned last year is stinging nettle.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually the most nutrient-packed
We were
vegetable.
talking about. You were telling me about this. Yeah.
And it hurts when you touch it. It
Yeah.
stings you. That's why they call it stinging nettle. But if you steam it, or kind of like when you're out there, it's just like a little canteen cup, and you kind of boil it, but you steam it.
Yeah.
It's so tasty. And so we already know that there's some stinging nettle out there. There's we don't know for sure, but we found strawberries last year out in the Little Belts. Had no idea that but I mean they're so
tiny.
They're so tiny.
Yeah.
Kind of
They'll
hard
make
to
a good,
spot.
Sweet tooth.
high-end salad, like a high-end restaurant salad where you
that's
get like
tiny
a
microgreens
leaf
and
and a strawberry and a drop
gourmet.
of yeah.
Mhm.
Here's your
little
salad.
piece of fish. Yeah. I love trout over the fire. It's about the only time I will eat trout is like if I'm by a creek, pull it right off, eat it right away. Little teeny cold water trout. Well, we realized that there's actually about 3 different meals in a single trout. And so we would cook it on a rock right next to the fire until the skin just got able to pull off. And so then we pull the meat out and we'd all eat the meat, right? We kind of pass it around on the little flat, piece of shale. And we'd all be passing around this and kind of it just easily pulls off the bones. Well, then the skin we'd put back on the rock until it just got super crispy. And then it's just like these fish chips.
Yeah.
And then we would take all of the leftover, and this is probably the grossest part, but we would take all the bones, the head, the eyes, all of that stuff, and put it back into like a thing of boiling water and let it kind of stew for a while, and then sip on that. And so it was like a fish bone
You
broth,
get the
super healthy.
nutrients from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the worst tasting part of all
Yeah.
of it because it's super fish.
But if you're looking to survive, like you got the nutrients in
yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
you use all of it. But those are just like I knew of all of that, but I'd never actually done it.
Sure.
And then to like actually do it, now it's like I can do that every time now, and
Yeah.
it's just like almost comes naturally, and it's pretty cool.
So is trout and singing nettle kind of the big components of a meal that people can expect out there?
Pretty much singing nettle and trout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have permission as long as it's not a game animal. So like there'd be grouse, mountain grouse out there.
Okay.
We can't trap those.
Mhm.
And if we catch one, we're going to release it as soon as we can. But we can trap small animals. But to be fair, like if you watch some of these shows, I think the best survival show it's called Alone,
Yeah.
and where
We've
they
watched that one.
self-film. You'll see how hard it is to trap animals.
Mhm.
Like it's pretty difficult,
Right.
especially for someone that's very new to it. And so the chances of us in a 48-hour period actually catching, we'll teach people how to make all the traps and what to look for, and here's what it looks like when a squirrel has sat and ate somewhere for a while, and here we'll show all
Wow.
those kind of things and realistically how you would set those traps up, but the chances are pretty low of actually catching one of those.
Gotcha.
We hope so.
Yeah. Sure.
Let me ask this, and you can refuse to answer, but in survival mode, like if you're out trying to survive in the wilderness and you catch a fish, let's say a cutthroat trout, which is not legal to keep, but you're in survival mode, what do you teach? Do you teach keep the fish and eat it, or put it back because it's illegal? Because you're in survival mode.
So first of all, in many places you actually can keep a cutthroat.
Okay.
But there's some places where you can't. And so just kind of know where you're at. Even Fish and Game will tell you, like, if you can't pretend you're in a survival situation, right? And you're like, oh, don't know where the truck is. Let me just go, but like you're
Right.
really out there surviving. Even they will tell you, like, use the resources around you. And so, yeah, that's what we would teach is, within your means, do what you can. We'd actually had no discussions on eating people.
That should probably be a bullet
Shocking.
point
Yeah.
on the training.
But we did talk about, like, we're there in the summer. There's no open hunting season at that time.
Right.
But if you had the ability and you did, get in a plane crash or get lost or whatever it is, like that's going to be a really good source of
Right.
protein pretty quick. But can be a headache too, because you have all of this meat that you have to eat in the next 48 hours
Right.
if you can't keep it cool and keep it fresh. And so if
Right.
you don't have a cave,
Right.
keep it 55 degrees, it'd be pretty hard. Or a bunch of salt, or
Right.
Yeah.
know how to smoke it.
Right.
There's definitely means to do it. But yeah, we would definitely teach, like, don't eat the last dodo bird,
Right.
because nobody wants you to survive then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But a cutthroat
You
trout.
don't want to survive then.
Yeah.
The reason, Fish and Game puts the regulations the way they do is, like, that animal does exist. They want it to continue to grow in that area. You'll usually know if it's like the last one, because it's not even going to be on the regulations anymore, because they won't even know that it's there,
Yeah.
And so a lot of times a singular person's impact isn't going to make the difference on that population. And so it's not going to be a huge problem. But yeah, make sure you're in a real survival situation. I can just picture people
Not
saying,
this time.
I
Yeah.
listened to the Outdoor Insider on We're No Damn Experts, and he said,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't mean you
It
get a
will.
flat tire and automatically just go kill everything
You
around
also
you.
heard Rebecca on the podcast talking about selecting who to eat. So that also does not mean to do
This
that.
was just on a 2-hour drive.
The weather was bad, people.
Please,
I needed to
disclaimers.
have my
Don't
plan.
do that.
I needed to have my plan.
And that's actually one thing we talk about on this too, this trip when we're out there, is like it's really hard nowadays to be lost in the woods.
Yeah.
For
For a long period
Right.
of time, if you're not like injured or
Plane crash or
incapacitated.
whatever.
So those are the things. That's why the backcountry medicine is so important.
Yeah.
Is like how to stay alive if you've got one leg, you know, because the other one's broken or whatever. Those for sure. But if you happen to get lost, your mentality is the most important because like you can, and actually the Montana Vet Program is doing it this year. We're this is our first year doing it. We're taking a trip of people that have been on hike trips with us before. And we're walking from the west side of the Bob Marshall to the east.
Oh, cool.
And so it's about 80 miles.
Wow.
And they're doing it in 7-8 days. So a week is about as long as you can be lost in the Bob Marshall Wilderness.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
unless you're
'cause you
just
can
walking
make-
circles.
Right.
But part of our training is also just like orienteering.
Yeah.
Right. And the sun comes up and goes down in the same direction,
Yeah.
you know, every day. So
Yeah.
don't keep walking in circles. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Let's go. And so that's one of the, and also like now my son, yesterday we went out fishing up the northern part of the Missouri River from Great Falls.
Okay.
We call it the lower river. I don't know if that's the real name for it. We call it the lower river. This is upper over here, lower over there. And we were down the lower river, and you get down into, it's not officially the Missouri River breaks yet, but it's very similar to where you're just down and the real world's several hundred feet above you, right?
Yep.
And so there's no cell service.
Yeah.
Well, we were riding back on the boat, and he just pointed his phone towards the satellite and could text. And like on iPhones, that's just I don't know if it's on Androids and stuff. But
the
It's not
satellite
on-
capacity
It's
now.
not on Android because my friend also shared with me that unique ability when we were down at the river.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'm trying to get an update, and I'm sending texts back and forth, and like the phone tells you where to
yeah, it says turn,
turn.
go left, go left.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Oh,
there.
right
And then you
there.
just
Just
keep
stay
it
right
pointed
there.
at the satellite,
Yeah.
and it'll help you even follow the satellite as
And
it
I'm
goes.
like, well,
Yeah.
that's so freaky.
Yeah. And so even
But
if your
helpful
legs
in
broke,
emergency.
if
Yeah.
your plane crashed in the middle of the Bob Marshall Wilderness, the second largest wilderness in the United States, like you can still send a
Send a
message.
text.
Yeah. If your
So-
phone's charged.
Yeah.
And it's an iPhone.
Yeah.
if your phone's charged. And we don't teach how to make solar powered,
Things.
chargers for your phone while you're out there because that's not a possibility.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. Do they get any, like, on, I think, Alone, they get to pick like 2 or 3 tools out of 20 options or something to take with them? One of the survival shows, I think it's Alone.
A lot of them do it that way.
Do you get to, do they have that option, the participants for this?
Yeah, it's pretty much the bag we're given with all the swag in it.
Okay.
And then,
So they do, it's just the knife they get after the swag bags before it.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
that's right.
swag bag will be with them.
Okay.
And then there's kind of a list of like, chapstick, sunscreen, some of those things, personal hygiene, medication, like
Yeah,
that's
sure.
a must.
Yeah.
And then like their own personal knife. Some people like to bring a multi-tool, which is a really cool thing too, a Gerber or a Leatherman. And so, yeah, there's definitely some things on that list.
Okay.
And then again, they'll just be
No
invited.
sneaking in granola bars.
They can. They're allowed to. We
Okay.
just tell them like we're not.
Yeah.
We're
If
not
you really
doing
want
this. If
this
you want like the
experience.
full experience,
Yeah.
and again, that's why we do it for 48 hours. Is like all of us can make it 48 hours without eating.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
But if for some reason it did,
You would be okay.
You're fine.
everybody's
Yeah.
going to be okay.
Yeah. Smart. Mm-hmm.
And then a mile away, we have a guy sitting there on radio with like even
Ready?
more medical gear,
Yeah.
a wall tent,
Nice.
fire going.
If
So
someone had some
no
type
matter
of
what
issue.
happens, like we're
You're
pretty
prepared.
close, yeah.
Nice.
And we already know like the flight path for the helicopter. Like we know
Yeah.
all like
You're prepared. You got to
we're
figure it out.
very
Yeah.
very prepared.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we do for the trips too. It's to the furthest point on the Smith from a rescue helicopter. It's a 26-minute flight
Okay.
on the Smith River. Like
Yeah.
we already know that.
Yeah.
Just because we want to know
Yeah.
what we've got to prepare for. But yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity, and I want you to disregard everything that was just said. There's not going to be anything. You are really going to be nip and tuck.
Mm-hmm.
No help anywhere. You probably
Just dropping you off.
48 hours.
For sure, what it's going to feel like.
Right.
You'll have moments like that.
Are you going to
for
be
sure.
mean, Brian, to everybody?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
Go sit out.
Yeah. No, it's definitely pretty chipper. Even
Yeah.
though you're with like military instructors
Yeah, yeah.
and all of that. You'd think, oh, get down and do push-ups.
camp.
You
Yeah.
didn't sharpen your knife good enough before you came. No,
Yeah.
it's all just a bunch of jokes
Yeah,
that we
that's
can't
cool.
share on podcasts.
Is there a pig egg involved with this one? Like there was for the knuckle
Buster.
The
yeah.
Knuckle Buster had the pig egg. No, we do. So, long story short, our pig egg was stolen a few years back.
Oh no.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then the sheriff's department found it in a car abandoned. And then, so for those of you that don't know, we have a pig egg. It's 75 pounds. It's a sandbag filled with 7,054 dog tags, the men and women we've lost in Iraq and Afghanistan. They all have the name, branch of service, hometown, date of birth, date of death on them. Well, we have to scrub a list to know that we have all those dog tags. So we don't want to lie about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's all real. The first time we scrubbed that list, it took like a week. The next time, because it's all volunteers, it took us 4 months to scrub the list.
Yeah.
Well, once it got stolen, we had to scrub the list. That was our
my
second time
goodness.
scrubbing
Yeah.
it. Took us 4 months. And in the meantime, we just ordered a whole new one.
Mm-hmm.
So we have not our real pig egg that will go on. So that's, if there was one sat up at the Knuckle Buster, it would have been that one.
Okay.
So we reserve the real pig egg. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but we tell everybody it's not like fake. We reserve the real pig egg with all the dog tags in it for veteran-led therapeutic adventure trips.
Yeah.
And so the 80-miler that they're doing across the Bob, they'll each be carrying their share. There's about 12 people going on that trip, so 12 divided by 75, they'll carry that much weight each, just extra weight. And so on this Backcountry Immersion, we'll have the fake one with us, just so we can share why we have it and part of our mission. You're donating to us, so we try to share as much as we can about what we do and who we are.
Cool.
But since it's open to everybody, not just veterans, then you get a little bit of that education and that honor, but not necessarily
carrying
the full immersion of that component.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked about that. Thank you. That's a good question.
How do people sign up for this?
Our website, mtvetprogram.org, montanavetprogram.org. It's gotten to the point now you should be able to just type those words into Google, Montana Vet Program, and you'll find us. On there, you'll see a tab that says Backcountry Immersion. And so the signups are there. It's actually through Eventbrite, which a lot, so it's pretty easy.
Good tool.
Yeah. And then, so I've said that the tickets are $3,000.
Yep.
Are actually in what we get after Eventbrite takes their cut is less than that. But we're covering the fee in that for their whatever the processing of the ticket fee.
Yeah.
And so it's just on our website. There's actually if you're having questions, you can always reach out to me on Instagram or the Montana Vet Program Instagram page, Facebook, things like that. But we have a whole FAQ page too, FAQ page.
Nice.
So you can go there, and there's a bunch of different tabs of logistics and packing lists and all of that stuff that's in there too.
And is there, I know it's coming up soon, are there any spots left this year? Yes,
Yep,
right?
we still have a couple left. I think it's either 2 or 3. I didn't check this morning. But
Well, you might want to register tonight then, Shannon.
Yeah. I thought you had said there was some, and then it'll be coming back around again. So if you're not ready to make the commitment for a few weeks from now, think about it for next year.
Your own naked and afraid experience,
right.
but not naked.
With clothing. Yeah. But you could hear direct about the Naked and Afraid experience from Laura.
Yeah,
I think she would be just a gem to visit with.
Oh my goodness, she has so many stories. She rode a train. The hobo way of riding trains from here to like Mexico.
Oh wow.
And maybe not here, but somewhere on the West Coast to Mexico. And was telling us stories about like she was sleeping in a train car that was full of like scrap metal.
Oh.
And woke up to a crane grabbing the scrap metal where she was at and had to like get out really quick. Stories like that it's just like crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy because like I don't have stories like that.
Also, I didn't realize
there's not a lot of people who live life like that anymore.
Right.
And 7 times on Naked and Afraid.
Naked and Afraid. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's and like she'll even tell like some of the stuff that I can't even share on the podcast about dealing with, you know, production companies and what's it like having a camera crew watching you, you know.
Yeah.
And one thing I can't share is she said she would rather be on Naked and Afraid now that she's been on it than on like Survivor or some of those other ones, because the blur spots are so big. She feels like it shows less of her than wearing like a bikini or anything else when you're on Survivor. She's like, I think people have seen less of me besides like the crew that's there, you know, whatever. Yeah. But like on Survivor, you see way more of somebody than you do on Naked and Afraid. I'm like, oh, that's probably
a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not much visuals on the Naked and Afraid blurs.
No, it's just
it's just a big
just
blurry,
a face.
Yeah.
Got some feet. That's all you see.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true.
They could be fully clothed. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Because of the blurs. Well, I'm excited for this event, and I'm excited that it's going to be happening so close to our home. Really a unique experience. If you want cool stuff to do, we got it here in Great Falls.
And this is the least intimidating way to give yourself a backcountry experience, I think.
Yeah, because like so much of being in the backcountry is a mentality thing. If you're forced into a situation where you're driving from Lewistown to Great Falls and you've never done something like this, you immediately think of eating people.
Yeah.
That's at least what I've heard.
Right, yes.
But
turns out you don't have to.
If you've done stuff like this, you can know how to survive.
Prepare.
Pick some berries.
Yeah.
I mean, you learned 6 different ways to filter water while you're with us. Like it's
helpful.
Yeah, it's super helpful.
Yeah.
And so for sure.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing this unique event. I am so glad people are going to find out they don't have to eat other people in their journeys unless it's really, really critical.
Well, I mean, just important tips from this podcast. Keep more food in your car.
Yeah, keep snacks in your car.
Keep snacks in your car, okay? You know, those thin packets of tuna.
Oh,
those are like 20 grams of protein.
Purse right now.
Yeah.
Salmon.
And they have them like pre-seasoned. There's like lemon pepper.
Thai chili.
Yeah. You can mix them right in with people when you cook them to eat them.
You seem to be very scared, so I expect like a full box of tuna next time we take a road trip together, like from here to Electric City Coffee.
I'll be like,
Shan's like, I've got 20 packs of tuna for you.
Yeah. Got a lot of protein.
Just in case you need it. Yep.
A lot of protein. That's not me. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm small. You should pick somebody else to eat. I won't last you as long. Yeah.
So I hope you've gained some fun nuggets so far today. To learn more, obviously go to the Montana Vet Program, get your ticket, and the amazing instruction. I think it's going to be a fantastic experience. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy face
Fully
in
clothed.
Great Falls, fully clothed,
Fully clothed.
staying in a hotel with a sweet bed, we do hope you're creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. We'll see you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.